Hi, my name is Daniel Hodges. This is my final presentation for advanced management with Wei Hua in the 11 o'clock class. I think that's section three. Um, we're going to be doing a brief overview of organization theory, and then dive into how it applies to the accounting world, which is the profession I wish to get into. So let's go ahead and start with our first slide. Um, Organization theory is an interdisciplinary field that makes use of sociological, psychological, economic, political, historical, and other relevant knowledge to solve real world problems related to organizations and organizing. In organization theory, there's two different types of organizations, and they are ubiquitous. And that means we live in an organization society, and these organizations are everywhere, in every industry and just every facet of our life. There's some level of organization. Um, Organizations are also consequential. They impact our every aspect of our private and public lives. Um, like I was saying with ubiquitous, organizations shape everything. There's some level of organization in everything we do. Um, so in organization theory, there are organization capitals, and these consist of economic capital, which is the similarity between economics theory and organization theory. We have cultural capital, which the media industry has power to tell you what to think, how to think, and so on. This is really prevalent in modern day Hollywood. The symbolic capital, which is represented with branded and generic products. Uh, like at the pharmacy, $60 medicine versus $3 medicine. An example of that would be Martin Shkreli jacking up, or an issue with symbolic capital would be Martin Shkreli jacking up the price by over 5,000% for life saving um, medicine for people with HIV. There's knowledge capital, which is the difference between like 5G and 4G. 5G network has been refined and is just broader and better than 4G. With time comes knowledge, and then this knowledge refines our products, which is knowledge capital. You have social capital, which is networking and that opens doors for opportunities that you may or may not have known of. In summary, organization theory deals with political capitals, and political capital is economic capital, cultural capital, symbolic capital, knowledge capital, everything we already talked about, plus some more. Therefore, organization theory is about politics. Organizational theory also has contingency factors, and those are the aspects that may potentially affect organizational structure. These factors explain variations in the organizational structure across organizations. This includes size, organizational technology, environment, goals and strategy, and culture. What is an organization? What is an organization theory about then? Theory is about how one or several contingency factors independently or in combination explain why a given organization is structured the way it is. Why is knowing this useful to managers and leaders? It helps analyze, diagnose, reform, and design organizations. Strategic analysis, strategic formation, and strategic implementation are all things that managers and leaders can use to help refine and help analyze and diagnose or reform these organizations. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the three perspectives of organization. The first one is going to be the rational system perspective. This is generally more of the accepted approach for organizations and how they tackle their problems or their day-to-day tasks. The rational system perspective views organizations as collectivities oriented to the pursuit of relatively specific goals and exhibiting relative formalized social structures. Um, the rational system of the three is considered to be the golden retriever of the three perspectives. And that just means the organization is the way it is because everyone sacrifices their own interests for the common good. The second one is the natural system perspective. And in the natural system perspective, organizations are collectivities whose participants are pursuing multiple interests, both disparate and common, but who recognize the value of perpetuating the organization as an important resource. This one is usually regarded as the evil chihuahua of the three perspectives. That's because not everyone sacrifices, and there's no such thing as a common good. People join organizations to get paid, and they use organizations to realize their own goals at the expense of others. This can be kind of an example of this would be just someone joining a company in on Wall Street, expecting to make a ton of money and maybe leave a path of destruction behind them. And doing this, you'd be considered following the natural system perspective, and thus being one of the evil chihuahuas. So, the third perspective of organization is the open system perspective. Organizations are collectivities of interdependent flows and activities linking and shifting coalitions of participants embedded in wider material resource and institutional environments. The open system it views people as puppets, told to do things by the people outside of the organization. This could be bad or good. I feel like if you have a good organization being ran by a stronger organization, or a smaller organization being ran by a bigger organization with lots of infrastructure, this could be beneficial, but it could also, dilute like company culture values, or just it could potentially hurt the company overall. So that's a brief overview of the three perspectives of organizations. So now I'm going to dive into just how they apply to the accounting world. The rational system perspective in relation to accounting. The rational system in organization theory is closely related to the world of accounting because both emphasize efficiency, control, predictability, and goal-oriented behavior. This is, I feel like, the most useful perspective in terms of accounting, because they just both value formal structure and rules, which accounting relies on standardized rules and procedures like generally accepted accounting practices to ensure consistency, much like rational systems emphasize formalization to guide behavior. These generally accepted accounting practices, like your credits and debits, your chart of accounts, your financial statements, all of these are better guided with the rational system. You should approach all of your tasks with the rational system in accounting. It's just going to keep you more organized. But the rational system also helps with goal orientation. Both focus on goal achievement, especially maximizing efficiency and performance. Accounting provides tools like budgets or performance reports that help organizations measure whether they are achieving their financial and operational goals. So that's just a brief overview of how it applies, or the rational system applies to the world of accounting. So here's how the natural system applies to the world of accounting. Although accounting is usually seen as rational, a natural system view reveals how social, political, and cultural dynamics also shape accounting practices. With the natural system in mind, it views organizations as living systems. Just like organisms, organizations strive to survive and maintain internal equilibrium. Accounting supports this by helping organizations adapt to internal and external changes, such as shifts in regulations, markets, or stakeholder expectations. With the natural system perspective in mind in the world of accounting, there is an emphasis on the purpose beyond efficiency. Unlike mechanical views of accounting, which focus purely on efficiency and control, the natural system perspective recognizes broader organizational goals like sustainability, legitimacy, or employee well-being. Accounting practices may include social and environmental performance metrics, not just financial ones. So that's definitely an important factor in the success of an organization. There should be an emphasis on these things, on the social factors. It'll help your sustainability long term. It'll help you formalize things for your employees and help you tackle uh, everything day to day with your tasks. So let's go ahead and talk about the open system. The open system perspective sees organizations as entities that constantly interact with their external environments. When applied to accounting, this means accounting is not just an internal, isolated process. It's influenced by and responsive to external economic, legal, social, and technological factors. Sorry. Um, Environmental interaction. Accounting systems must respond to changes in laws, markets, technologies, and stakeholder expectations. For example, new tax regulations or climate disclosure rules directly affect accounting practices. So that's a brief overview of how the three perspectives generally apply to the world of accounting. So here are some methods that I would use to synthesize these three perspectives into becoming a better accountant. So with the rational system, this is how I would synthesize it. I would focus on goal achievement, supporting the goal achievement, aligning accounting practices with organizational goals like profitability, cost reduction, and return on investment. I would also use budgeting and forecasting to guide departments towards strategic objectives. I would focus on strengthening control systems. To do this, I would design or enforce internal controls to reduce errors, fraud, and inefficiencies. I would also implement audit trials, segregation of duties, and reconciliation processes. I would focus on enhancing decision making with my data. I would provide timely and accurate financial reports to support managerial decisions. And I would use cost accounting, variance analysis, and KPIs to inform performance evals. So that's just a brief kind of explanation what I would do to synthesize the rational system to better adhere to my accounting practices. To preface, this is definitely the one that is the strongest in the accounting world. So these next two, these are the approaches I would take to better apply them to the world of accounting. With the natural system, I would promote organizational sustainability and well-being. To do this, I would go beyond financial results, support social, ethical, and environmental accounting. I would also help develop a report on sustainability metrics or social impact measures like carbon accounting, DEI spending, and community investments. I would also, with the natural system, strengthen my internal relationships and culture. Using accounting data to foster transparency and trust among departments would be a priority for me. And then adapting to reporting and budgeting to reflect team or cultural priorities, not just numbers. I would also support informal learning and adaptation. To do this, I would participate in cross-functional teams to understand evolving needs. I would also tailor financial reports to help non-financial managers make informed and collaborative decisions. I would just try to make it a priority to help everyone around me in the different departments to be able to work with my tasks and help me on day-to-day tasks or and vice versa. So that's how I would approach the natural system and synthesize it more into my work. And then with the open system, I would track and respond to external pressures. To do this, I would monitor regulatory changes like tax and ESG reporting requirements and update accounting systems accordingly. I would also adjust budgeting and forecasting models to reflect market trends, economic shifts, or supply chain disruptions. I would also facilitate strategic decision making. To do this, I would provide timely, relevant financial and non financial data to help leaders respond to environmental change. I would also use scenario planning, sensitive analysis, or rolling forecasts to help navigate uncertainty with my day to day activities with uh, cost analysis, budgeting, and planning. I would also incorporate feedback loops. To do this, I would use performance reports, like variance analysis, not just for control, but for continuous learning and adaptation. And then I would also encourage feedback from managers and departments to refine reports and systems. So that's how I would synthesize all three perspectives in my work to make them more applicable and become a better accountant. So that's all I have for my presentation. I'd like to thank you, Professor, for a great semester. Um, I learned a lot in this advanced management course. It was one of my most beneficial. So I appreciate you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.